In this episode, we recap the Roar before the 24, and Derek, this guy, races the iRacing Daytona 24. Welcome to episode 168 of the We Are Auto Show. What's up, Derek?
Mr. Michael Rao, this past week, there's actually some racing going on.
Yes!
I participated in a race.
Whoa!
There was real racing at the track near us, Daytona, which is pretty cool. What do you want to talk about first?
So let's talk about some stuff that happened at the Roar. The Roar before the Rolex 24 at Daytona.
Which is a practice that happens the week prior to the race, but also had a race in it.
2 races.
And qualifying.
Yeah. It was practice, race 1, practice, race 2, qualifying. Or something like that.
Interesting. What do you want to talk about first?
Let's start with the actual races that happened.
So what series was racing? Because this confused me.
Yes. It was the VP Racing Sports Car Challenge, which, if we think back a few months ago, this is that new series we talked about that was sprint races with LMP3 cars and GT4 cars.
Aha. So we're looking at the pictures here.
Mm-hmm.
You can clearly see the LMP3s, the prototypes here. Yep. And then further on in these, we get the GT4 cars, which I think are the same cars that run in the Michelin Pilot Challenge as well.
They are, but in Pilot Challenge, you also get TCRs.
Right.
No TCRs.
No TCRs here. So only 2 classes, but the same cars in the LMP3 cars are also running in the real Rolex 24.
Mm-hmm.
It's all kind of intermingled.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting.
It's very intermingled.
So what happened in these races?
I heard there was some drama with one of the P3 drivers initially, but I do have some results, shall we?
All right.
So
Sure.
There was 2 races, race 1 and race 2. Go over the quick results of race 1 first. In the top 3, you had I'm going to butcher your name. I'm so sorry. Bjoy, I think, Garg. He was racing LMP3 Ligier. Then you had Brian Tienes, I think, racing in the Ligier LMP3. Then you had Dan Goldberg, which took the win overall for race 1 in a Duquesne D08 LMP3 car. So not a Ligier.
Oh, interesting.
The other LMP3.
I think it's Duquesne.
Duquesne?
How it's English pronounced.
Englished?
Yeah.
Not very Englishing.
That's
so
okay.
Those are the top 3 of the first race in LMP3, but talking about GT4, but they call it the GSX class.
Okay.
They're GT4 cars.
Sure.
So in GT4 GSX, we had, let's see, your number 3, was taken by Rob Walker, who drove a BMW M4 GT4. And then second place was Moisey Uretsky in an Aston Martin Vantage GT4. And then first place goes to Mr. Billy Griffin with the Core Motorsports Ford Mustang GT4.
Yep.
Hey, yo!
Do you happen to know where the CEO of Ford, who is actually at this race,
He finished 11th in class.
What was his name?
Jim Farley.
Jim Farley.
Multimatic Motorsports. Yep.
He did well. Obviously, he didn't do super well, but he held his own. And when I was watching the event, I was impressed with his driving.
Yeah, he's a decent driver. I mean, he races HSR too.
Yep.
Right. So that's race 1. Let's talk about race 2. Race 2, your top 3 in LMP3. You had Courtney Crone in you said, was it Duquesne LMP3 car. Then you had Brian Tienes again in the Ligier. Then you had Dan Goldberg, which swept the weekend. He took a win in race 1 and race 2 in LMP3 and overall. And then if we look right on down to the GSX class or the GT4 class, we have a similar top 3, but not exactly the same. You have Rob Walker taking 3rd in the BMW M4 again. Then you had Sebastian Carrazzo, I believe, with Kelly Moss with Riley with the Porsche 718 GT4 RS Club Sport. Woo! Porsche fan here. And then you actually had Billy Griffin take the win again in the Ford Mustang from Core Motorsports. And if we're looking for Mr. Jim Farley, he was 7th in class. So, well done, Mr. Farley.
Yep.
Better finish second time around.
The racing overall was actually pretty good quality. I did not know many of the names of the drivers. Most of them were new to me.
Agree.
Which I like seeing for a series like this that's brand new. It means new drivers are getting a chance in the spotlight for a feeder series to what will be the Michelin Pilot Challenge, which is racing this weekend prior to the Rolex 24, which is also a feeder series to the IMSA series. So it's a ladder system, right? You go up the ladder from this being the lowest all the way up to the Rolex 24 and the IMSA guys.
It's a feeder to the feeders.
Right. Which is good because in F1 they have F3, F2, F1. In IndyCar they have
Indy Lights.
S2000s, Indy Lights. Yeah, there's some other stuff in there too. It's good to see. I remember us talking about this series. But when it came on, I was like, oh, this is the new series. Okay, good to watch.
That's the one.
Yeah.
You got it.
Neat.
So that is the racing that actually happened, the actual races.
Right.
Let's talk about the qualifying for the big race that's coming up.
Okay.
Because I know you and I are very keen to know what's happening in the world of IMSA.
Yes, we are.
So, in the world of IMSA, there was the qualifying for the Rolex 24 Daytona 2023. Now, we had some issues in qualifying.
Yes, we did.
Well, my favorite team had more issues than others.
They had some big issues, actually.
Yeah, not good.
No, they stuffed it in the wall at the bus stop pretty badly, actually. And they brought out the red flag, which does mean your fastest 2 laps are abandoned. So that car will be starting at the back of the GTB grid. But
Yes.
the other one did finish because there were 2 vehicles, 2 Porsches that were running. Where did they finish?
So, I'll tell you. So, the other Porsche came in second place.
Okay.
Wow.
Prior to this qualifying, I know we've only talked about the top class right now. We'll talk about some other classes in a little bit here. But prior to this qualifying event, people were calling a foul of Porsche.
Oh.
They were saying that they were sandbagging a significant margin.
Are we sure about that?
Yes. Most of the paddock was not very stoked with Porsche. They did not like what they were doing. Porsche was saying, we're not just sandbagging. We actually don't have any pace in the car. But find that hard to believe when you qualify second in a relatively close split. So I'm actually happy to see them qualify second because that means there's pace in the car. Kind of not happy about how they got to qualifying second because they were literally almost last in every single session for both cars. And the only reason that they weren't in one session was because it was a rain session and they were the only cars to go out. So it could have just been them tinkering around with setup, but IMSA really wants to get the data behind the scenes to figure out if they need to adjust BOP. I suspect with how qualifying went, if they're going to be BOP adjustments, they won't be big for any of the top class cars. We'll talk about what happens in GT because I have a feeling a big BOP hit is going to happen in GT.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that.
In the top class, it looks like most of the teams are on pace. If anything, the Acuras are slightly too fast.
I was going to say that. So, real quick, your GTP field is listed as such. So, in last place in GTD, you are qualified the Porsche that was stuffed by Mr. Nick Tandy. Then you have the 2 BMWs in 8th and 7th. BMW was struggling from what I heard this weekend. So I think they'll get a BOP bump up a little bit is my guess.
A tad.
Not a huge, but a tad. Then you've got the Cadillac, the Whelen Engineering Cadillac, which was 6th. Then you've got the factory Cadillacs, 5th and 4th. Then you've got the Konica Minolta Acura at 3rd. So that's Wayne Taylor Racing. Then you have the other Porsche at 2nd. Then you have the Meyershank Racing Acura, which apparently was just blisteringly quick past everyone.
Right. How far of a margin did they have?
Not super far, which is why I think Porsche's probably going to get BOP down a little bit. So I think Acura and Porsche are going to get BOP down a little bit, and I think BMB will be brought up, and I think Cadillac will stay level.
Yeah.
But it was Acura, their best time, 134.031. Porsche was 134.114, and then the next Acura was 134.198. Then you've got 134.262, 389, 608. They were all 134s.
So we're talking within a couple tenths for most of the field.
Mm-hmm.
So that's good. You want to see that close kind of racing.
Mm-hmm.
The Cadillacs did look solid to me.
They
And
did.
from my understanding, they have the best chance of completing the race.
I think you're right.
The Acuras are going to be fast, but they don't know if they have the sustainability in the long run. And the Porsche and BMW are new cars, so they're very questionable on sustainability for the long run.
Yep.
From what I also know, how they manage and manipulate the hybrid drivetrain that they have will play a big role in this race. So they're given an open playbook. They can burn and deplete the battery however they want. And it gives them an extra, it's like 70 horsepower or something from an electric motor that's attached to the transmission. They can recharge on the straightaways, unlike in Formula One where you're recharging under braking. They can use the internal combustion engine to recharge the battery on the straights. They can deploy that energy anywhere they want at any point throughout the race, which is slightly different than you can do in F1 as well.
Yep.
So they have a complete open book as to what they want to do, and how that gets modeled and set up by each team, from what I understand, is pretty different right now.
Good.
Yeah. So it's going to be fascinating to watch how the battery management system works. Apparently, you have to start the car. There's no starter on the car. The car must be started with that electric motor, which is interesting. And also, if the battery dies, the hybrid battery, the whole car is done. You cannot restart the car unless you have energy in that hybrid battery, because that is what's used to start the car. So
Makes you think.
Yeah, if that hybrid drivetrain dies, apparently the car has about 30 minutes of drive time left as far as battery goes before its battery is shot, and they have to fix it. And fixing it is like an hour in the pits. So they're not made to be swapped in and out. We'll see. The tech behind these cars is going to be very fascinating to watch, and I'm starting to lean toward an LMP2 winning overall.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think an LMP2 could very much win overall. I think BMW is going to have the most troubles this weekend.
I suspect you're right going in, but we could get surprised.
Like, here's my reasoning. Of the manufacturers, which one's been out of top class racing for the longest?
Yeah, it has been BMW.
Yeah.
Right. Now, they've been racing other stuff. Top
GT class racing.
Prototype hybrid stuff, no. I mean, this is way different than running an M4 or an M5 or whatever the GT4 version of their car is. It's way different. Yeah. But it is still a race car, so I don't know. It'll be awesome to watch. I can tell you that.
It's going to be cool.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
But shall we move on to GT car qualifying?
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about P2 Super 3s, or just want to skip right to it?
I want to talk about GT more.
I do too.
Because it was fascinating as to what happened.
Yeah, let's talk about GT cars. So, the GT class, I guess we could call qualifying, shall we? We have... Ooh, I'm looking at these quality results, and okay, they lumped LMP3 and GTD Pro together. So starting at GTD Pro, your top three. Well, I'm just gonna run through all 9 because there's only 9 GTD Pro cars.
Okay.
So you had Ferrari take last place GTD Pro, the new 296 GT3. That was the Risi Competizione car. Then you had the FAF Motorsports Porsche. That was 8th, so second to last. Then the Turner Motorsports BMW M4 took 7th. The Iron Lynx Lamborghini Huracan took 6th. The TF Sport Aston Martin Vantage took 5th. The Corvette, the lone Corvette in the whole race. That's kind of weird.
It's really weird.
But the lone Corvette in the whole race took 4th. Then the Lexus and GTD Pro took 3rd. Aston Martin Heart of Racing took second, and a Mercedes, the WeatherTech Racing boys, took first in GTD Pro for their qualifying.
Okay.
So a Mercedes, an Aston, a Lexus, top three.
Gotcha.
Okay. Let's move on to GTD, standard GTD Pro-Am. Okay. So I'm not going to start from the bottom because there's 24 cars.
No.
entered.
Tell me the top three.
That's just redonkulous. So top three, we have Team Korthoff Motorsports, Mercedes AMG. We have Sun Energy One, Mercedes AMG. We had Windward Racing, Mercedes AMG.
I see a pattern.
Do you?
Yes.
I wonder what could that pattern be?
Oh, I wonder. And what was the time differential from fourth, which is the first non-Mercedes? I think wasn't an Acura?
It was an
to
Acura.
first.
So let's see. First place was 146.093. Fourth, the first non-Mercedes was 146.867. So
8/10.
8/10, yeah.
8/10 is kind of a margin in
8/10 is almost a second.
That's a lot. Yeah. I can nearly guarantee you Mercedes is getting VOP'd down.
Well, Mercedes took top step in both GTD Pro and GTD, and they're top three in GTD. Yeah, that's not brilliant.
How IMSA hits them with the BOP will be interesting because you can hit them with a straight line speed differential. You can hit them with a fuel mileage thing where they have less fuel in the tank. You can hit them with an aerodynamic play. It's going to be fascinating to watch, or just weight, right? Which kind of hits you in all of them, to be honest.
Yeah, you get screwed everywhere there.
Right. So we'll see how they handle it. I think that the Ferrari is going to get a bump up. And I also think that the Mercedes is getting a bump down. As far as the other teams, I don't really know.
My speculation, I speculate Mercedes are coming down. I speculate Ferraris and Porsches are starting to come up a little more. And I think the Lamborghinis are probably going to be maybe a slight bump up. Maybe. Okay. But the Porsches qualified horribly.
Yeah, but it's a 24.
No, I agree, but I'm just thinking in terms of like which manufacturers did well in qualifying versus which. And I'm not saying this because I'm a Porsche fanboy, but if you look at the whole bottom part of the GTD field, you've got Porsche 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Porsches that didn't qualify anything higher than 14th.
And how many Ferraris?
Ferraris, there's a Ferrari in 9th, but there's not as many Ferraris in the race. There's a Ferrari in 9th. There's a Ferrari in 17th, and then another Ferrari in 22nd. So Ferrari and Porsche are going to get bumped up, and Mercedes is definitely getting bumped down.
We'll see. There's more data than just looking at qualifying times. Qualifying times,
true.
Driver matters, conditions matter, traffic matters. It's more than just looking at time. So
true.
And also, you can qualify like crap and have a great race setup on the car and just be consistent.
And just stay out of trouble.
Right. That's what this race is going to be. With 61 cars on track, it's going to be traffic. Traffic is all this race will be until 2 hours, 3 hours remaining.
Agree. Qualifying is, dare I say, irrelevant?
If I were Mercedes-Benz head of motorsport, I'd be pissed.
Yeah.
I'd be livid with the boys.
Yeah. You don't qualify that good in a 24-hour race.
There's no real reason to. There's no point to. You're kind of only hurting yourself.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Real quick, I do have to take a little, I don't know if you swiped through a picture of the JDC Motorsports LMP3 car?
I'll try and find one.
So it's the yellow LMP3 car. I want to point something out when you scroll past it, because something they did with their livery is amazing. I love what they did, and it is so, how do I put this, cheeky and amazing and perfect. Try to find a side shot of the yellow LMP3. Maybe go up a little more, because it says something on the side of the car that is just so amazing.
I don't know that we have one.
Oh, that's a bummer, because JDC Motorsports is the other factory team that ordered a Porsche 963. And what they did is on the side of their, not the bright yellow, not the Fear the Tafts, But what they did is on the side of their LMP3 car, they wrote down, "My other car is a Porsche."
Oh.
It's so good. It's just hilarious. It's such a cheeky little like, hey, yeah, we're still waiting on our delivery of a Porsche, so is what it is. But yeah, I don't know if you're going to find one. Either way, it's quite funny. I just love when teams do a funny livery like that.
Mm-hmm.
So
FAF always had a really good livery too. There's a bunch of them actually.
There's some I really like the Macintosh livery on the new M4. The blue one. Oh, that's a good livery.
There's some good stuff. And I think the BMW has like a little reflective tape around the edge.
Yeah, it's got pink tape.
The snout nose. So I think that's going to look cool at night too.
It's going to look sick.
Yeah.
It's going to look like a manta ray hoovering up the track.
It will be exciting. That's this weekend. You can watch online on IMSA TV. Or if you're in the U.S., you got to go figure out what cable provider's doing it at what time. It's kind of a mess.
Or if you're in Florida, you should come out and come hang out with us.
True. We'll be there.
So, speaking of endurance racing, I hear you did a little bit of endurance racing competing this past weekend. So,
I did.
Do tell.
It's the virtual Rolex 24, which was pretty neat. But before I talk about how my race went, I want to talk about what happened in the pros of virtual sim racing.
Oh.
Because there's some hot drama. We got to talk about some hot drama.
Hit me.
All right. This, my friend, is a tweet that Mr. Tony Kanaan tweeted, and it's worth talking about. We're going to pull up this video real quick. So this is a driver on the Williams team doing qualifying. Notice something weird. You can't see the track. You just see this. This was on his Twitch stream. He was streaming this. He purposefully switched to a face cam where you just see him and you can't see the car.
Why?
I'll show you why. Because this was the qualifying run that he was doing, my friend. What's wrong here?
Wow, you cut the course. That's not at all how that goes.
No. He raced on the apron around the entire banking. Not only did he do it once, he did it on all the NASCAR turns. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4.
So
he took pole.
He got pole for cutting the course?
He got pole. And you'll remember, he didn't show it on his stream. He cut the face cam because he knew that this is not a good thing to do.
Oh, that's shitty.
iRacing didn't have a system in place to penalize someone for doing this, which is rough. And everyone is just up in arms about this.
But is it as rough as the virtual 24 Hours of Le Mans just dying?
No. This is a bad look for sim racing, which is what Tony Kanaan was on about. He was basically saying, come on, guys, we put this much effort into trying to make sim racing as viewable, as good as possible, and this is what we do, and this is how pole happens in one of the bigger races of the year. Come on.
Yeah.
It's not a good look at all. iRacing next year will implement something to prevent this from happening. But this is the Williams F1 esports team doing this.
Oh, so this is their... Oh, that's not a good look.
No, it's not a good look at all. And this car did win the race.
Oh, that's really not a good look then.
No, it's not. And all the Williams F1 guys, Martin Brundle, all those guys are like, oh, you did so good. Whoop, yeah, congratulations, team. And everybody's
but they didn't actually see what he did.
Seriously? No, they knew. Oh, they knew.
Oh.
But when money's handed out for you to say congratulations because you're an ambassador to Williams F1, yeah. So there's some hot drama going on right now.
It sounds like it.
The world of motorsports. Other things that happened in this race, there was a big drafting debacle. There was 2 Audi R8s that were on the same team. One of the R8s had an incident very early in the race, and all he did for the next 22 hours was push his teammate with the draft to a win for 23 hours. They gained an entire lap on the GT field by just drafting and bump drafting the whole rest of the race. That's a valid strategy. I'm not upset about that.
It's teamwork.
That's a completely valid strategy.
It's teamwork.
But the GT car of this Williams team did some shady stuff.
So Williams is just a shady team.
Williams was very shady in this
What
event.
did the Williams GT car team do?
They had a Mercedes that got punted early in the race with like 20 hours remaining. And instead of going and drafting their team and running around, they went and blocked the people behind the Williams or in front of the Williams strategically to try to gain the advantage. They didn't win the race. They only came third in the GT class, but they did win the prototype race by cheating in qualifying and then strategically blocking to get a podium on the GT.
Ooh.
Yeah. Interesting. Now let's talk about the race that I was in, because I was doing this race, and I was actually doing it in this car with a team called Event Matrix, which is a bunch of boys from Canada, which is pretty cool.
There you go.
Yeah, and you can see in this next photo, you can see my name on the top of the car.
There you are. Look at you.
Yeah, D. Schmidt up there.
There you go.
Pretty cool that they have a custom livery on the team. We had 6 drivers in total. It was overall a very fun event, and I want you to participate in one of these one time, because it's fun. It's a lot of fun. For somebody who is so into sim racing or into endurance sports car racing, to be able to run a actual 24, sure, it's on a computer, but you're doing strategy, you're looking at when pit stops are happening, you're figuring out traffic, you're strategizing with the team.
That'd be a lot of fun.
When drivers are getting in and out of the car. It was a ton of fun. Yep. So the race started about 5 o'clock on Friday. We in our split, so in our group of teams that were running, there were 49 teams in our split. But we had 29 GT teams and we had 20 GTP teams. So no LMP2s made it to us. There just weren't enough running.
Okay.
We were actually kind of in like the lower half of the skill rating.
Okay.
And all of them were at the top half of the skill rating.
The topper half?
Topper half. When the race started, surprisingly, it was chaos. This is a 24-hour race.
Did that surprise you, though?
It kind of did, because
but
this
realistically,
is a 24.
When the adrenaline hits.
We stayed out of trouble for the first many hours, which was good. But for the first 4 hours, every 10 minutes, somebody was in the wall. It was ridiculous. It was insane.
That's hilarious.
By about the 4th hour, about half the GTP teams were gone. They had already retired the car.
They're just gone.
They're just gone, which is kind of ridiculous. Like I'm saying, it's a 24-hour race. The whole point is to just survive. So, yeah, I don't know. We were running a fuel strategy where we wanted 31 laps per fill-up, which was 1 lap more than most other people were running in the GT class. Most people were running 30 laps.
So you were doing more of a fuel save.
We were lifting and coasting into the bus stop and into turn 1, and it worked like a charm. We did 31 laps nearly every single stint. There were some stints that got messed up because of traffic or incidents or whatnot. But by about 11 o'clock, I jumped in the car. I had a double stint on the schedule, which turned into a triple stint because one of our drivers' alarm didn't wake up.
Oh, no.
It never went off. He slept through, and I had no choice but to stay in the car. So that's what I did.
No.
And I ran my triple stint, no problem. I think I only had 1 off track through the whole triple stint, which is pretty impressive.
That's well done.
Incident. Yep. Running consistent lap times. After I went to bed and the car was finally handed over to somebody that woke up, I didn't care who, just someone wake up.
Just someone take this car from me.
Right. I think I jumped in the car at about 9th place, and I got out of the car in 7th. So
hey,
solid.
Gained a couple positions there. Well done.
Yeah. Always doing good. But around 6 a.m. was the first big problem that we had, where a GTP punted us, and we were, I think, 6 or 7 minutes of repairs. So, it's a 24. That happens.
So it was a GTP that hit you.
Yep.
Of course it was.
That was the only other car that was running that could have hit us. I guess a GT car could have hit us, but more unlikely in that scenario. At about 9 a.m., I jumped back into the car, which was fun. After my 5 hours of sleep or whatever I got, because I didn't get out of the car until 2 or 3 in the morning. And I did spin the car once and touched a BMW that was racing with me, but that was completely fine. Oop. I think we had a couple minutes of repairs, but nothing too bad. That was my 4 stints complete. Since we had 6 drivers, we could each do 4 stints, and that would equal our 24 hours.
Seems like a lot of drivers.
Mm-hmm. I think we were around 8th place by near the end of the race with about 3 hours left. But unfortunately, we had a GTP pass us inside going into the second horseshoe, and the driver that was in the car didn't quite brake enough, slid off, and put it in the tires. And that cost us like 15 to 20 minutes of repairs.
Oh, no.
So we went from 8th down to 11th, and we managed to claw our way back to 10th and get a top 10 finish.
You got a top 10 finish in your first iRacing endurance race.
Yes, we did.
Hell yeah.
It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun.
Derek, well done.
I know. I was impressed. I was very, very impressed. It was neat.
I have a question for you. Does iRacing implement a minimum drive time requirement?
They do.
So the lower the skill rating, the more minimum drive time rating requirement there is, or something like that?
Not the lower the skill rating. The number of drivers you have in the car determines the minimum number of laps.
Okay, so it's not like your bronze driver has to do X amount of laps.
No. The way that they handle skill rating is they take your whole team and they average they call it iRating, which is like your skill rating in the game. They average that across your whole team and then try to pair you against teams that are similar in that iRating.
Got it.
Yeah. So our split had people around 1,500 iRating, which is very close to where I'm at. I'm like 1,300 to 1,400. So slightly better than me, but some guys on our team were around 2,000. Some guys were around like, I think 1,200. So they average it out, which is a good way to do it, to be honest.
Makes sense.
It was very fun. I plan on doing a bunch more in the future. So yeah, you got to get you a sim rig so that you can start running these.
I would love to.
Yes. And at the end, very cool sight to see. Everyone was doing donuts.
Oh, yes!
Everyone that finished was doing donuts.
Ooh, that'd be cool.
Awesome. Yeah.
That's awesome. I love that.
Yep. Very fun.
Well, that's fantastic. I'm so happy to hear. I'm so jealous. It looks like so much fun.
It was.
So now you ready to race the real Rolex 24?
Yeah. Put me in.
Oh, okay. Put you in, coach. All right. You're in the Cadillac LMDH.
No, I'll take my Ferrari that I was driving with the same setup, everything.
Okay. All right. All right. So that's all the real news we got. I would give you a little spiel on upcoming races, but I think we know what race is upcoming. It's the one we've been hyping up for, well, ever.
A while.
Yeah. It's the Rolex 24 at Daytona this weekend, baby. Hit us up if you're going to be there. We're going to be there. Drop a comment on the video. Let us know you're going to be in there. Or just send us a message on social. Facebook is We Are Auto. Instagram is We Are Auto _. YouTube is We Are Auto. Our website is weareauto.io. And don't forget, hit subscribe and leave us a rating. Other than that, thanks so much. We'll catch you guys on the next one.
Peace.